Hello and welcome to How to Get the Soft Skills You Need for a Career in Tech. My name is Phoebe and I'll be the host for this session today. So this webinar will focus on non-tech or soft skills that employers are looking for in their ideal tech graduates. So today we're joined by Explio, BAE Systems and TJX Europe. Please do ask our panellists questions in the question tab at the bottom. There'll be a Q&A session towards the end of the webinar. We'll also be using an upvote system. So if you see a question that you like, just give it an upvote. So let's get to know our panellists. So starting with Nicola, please can you introduce yourself? So just tell us about your position and how technology plays a role.
Yep, good afternoon everybody and welcome. My name is Nicola Caroleo. I work for BAE Systems and I'm part of GART. GART is the graduate and apprentice recruitment team. So I'm responsible for recruiting graduates into BAE Systems, and my primary areas of recruitment are looking after the graduates for air and maritime. Technology plays a big part in our process actually. From when you fill out your application online, for doing your video interview, your gaming assessments. So when you're doing your gaming assessments, obviously it's then scored, and we look at cognitive ability, behavioural patterns, how well you are to be, how well and how easy you can be developed. So by doing all these gaming assessments and your online video interview through the technology that we use, gives us a very good idea of the type of candidate you are, and obviously looking at your degree, it's easy for us to assess you and place you into the correct roles. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much. Danielle, I'm going to come to you next, so that's okay.
Thank you, Phoebe. So hi, I'm Danielle Gower, and I work for an organisation called Explio Group. Explio Group are a consultancy, so we supply technology services and engineering services to our clients. My role is I head up the recruitment for the UK, and my role and my teams recruit everything from apprentices, graduates, all the way up to senior hires. When I think about how technology has an impact, I think about more the technology services that we supply to our clients. So one of the examples I can give is the Oyster card. So when the Oyster card was first launched through the London travel system, it was electronic, that you tapped that Oyster card. So Explio would have been involved in the creation of that and making sure that it worked properly from start to finish. From a recruitment perspective, similar to Nicola, we use video interviewing. We also have a platform or a tracking system that all of our candidates are tracked through the technology platform, and even down to kind of working with GTI, the platform that posts our jobs. So yeah, it's endless. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much, Danielle. Nimisha, I'm going to come to you next.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Nimisha and I work in the early careers team at TJX Europe. In terms of TJX, we are known on the high street as TK Maxx and HomeSense, and we're the world's leading off-price apparel and home fashions retailer. We are a US-owned business and we're in the top 100 in the Fortune 500 listings. We've got over 4,000 stores and about 270,000 associates working across 9 countries and 3 continents. In terms of recruitment, I recruit for the graduates and the placements on the IT program. And to support me here today, I've also got Rachel Miller, who works in IT and started as a graduate. So if I pass over to Rachel.
What a good segue. Okay. Hello, I'm Rachel. As Nimisha said, I'm in IT. So I'm my job role is senior product owner. If you don't know what a product owner is, it's kind of like a business analyst. Basically, I tell all the smart technical coder software engineers what to develop, essentially. But yeah, so as Nimisha said, I started on the grad scheme 5-ish years ago. I'm still here because I love it so much. day to day, I work in the supply chain Brexit customs area. So what I deal with is using technology to get all the goods that we sell in store into the UK and across borders, really. But as Nimisha touched on, we are a huge global corporation. You can imagine that technology literally is everywhere, from like I said, getting stuff to our stores from all over the world to actually selling it in stores, and everything in between. So yeah.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Rachel. And thank you to everyone for introducing yourselves. So I'm going to move on to our first question. So what qualifications do you require or look for your tech roles? Rachel, I'm going to change your site and just ask, what did you study at uni, and what qualifications did you have? And is it okay if I start with you first?
Yeah, happy. So I myself did electronic engineering. But after doing that, I realized I didn't want to go into engineering, but I did like technology side of things. So I thought IT sounds good. And at the time, it was an IT grad scheme, but you didn't need any sort of degree. You just needed any degree, really. So I joined that way. But now, as I'm sure Nimisha will talk about, you do need a STEM degree for our current engineering program. So science, technology, engineering, or math. But in the future, we are actually looking to expand the grad schemes to jobs like mine, essentially, where you don't need to be able to code, but you do have an interest in technology. But that's still it's on the roadmap. It's just not quite live yet. But have I missed anything, Nimisha?
No, I think that's perfect.
Okay.
So right now the prerequisite is a STEM degree, but in the very near future, we're going to open it up to other degrees as well, so long as you have got an active interest in IT.
Lovely, thank you very much. Nicola, I'm going to come to you next. So what do you, what qualifications do you require or look for your tech roles?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So within BAE Systems, obviously there's many divisions to be looking, business units to be working in. Very similar to Rachel, we look for STEM, but also outside of that, we also look for IT and computing or computer sciences, and we look for a minimum grade of a 2-2 to be joining BAE Systems.
Thank you very much. And Danielle?
So just, I guess, following on from what Nimisha said, for us it's extremely important that people have a passion for working in IT, and I think sometimes that goes unrecognised, and it's so focused on the degree. So we do typically need people to have a degree in technology in some form, but again we can consider the maths and the wider STEM degrees, but we wouldn't rule people out that didn't have an IT degree as long as they have that passion. So typically it may be someone that is doing coding in their spare time, so that clearly shows that they've got that desire to work in the industry. So we try to not be too specific, and we've had people be really successful for our grad program that have done geography degrees, psychology degrees, so we're quite flexible.
Thank you very much. Nimisha, do you have anything else to add?
I think that's fine, thank you.
Yeah, good. So what stands out to you on a graduate application form? This could be a positive or a negative thing that you've seen. Anyone want to start that one off?
I don't mind, Gary.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a good or bad application form, because it very much depends on their video interview and their gaming assessments that they've done within BAE Systems. So we, obviously, of course, for a graduate, we might look for previous experience, or if you're taking on an undergraduate or a summer intern placement previously, whether that's been within BAE or a different company, if you've been exploring your options. It literally comes down to your application on the day and how well you've done on your video interview and your gaming assessments. So if you do have previous experience, absolute bonus, but it's not make or break. We wouldn't turn an application down because you don't have experience. We're not about that at all. We don't discriminate at all. So, you know, if you're thinking you've got to have a certain thing on your application, or you're wanting to point that out to us, in some cases it's not necessarily considered, because it literally is based on, again, coming back to your video interview and your gaming experience that you've had with us, and we assess you from there, if that helps.
Yeah, great answer, really insightful. Thank you, Nicola. Anyone else have anything to add to that talking point?
I had some thoughts about this, and this isn't to say that it's like a definitive that if you have any of these things, you know, you get through, but they're always nice to haves. So in terms of like the nice to haves that I had thought of, I would include practical experience coding, whether you're kind of an entrepreneur and you have your own business or Etsy sites or something that you do that involves technology outside of academics. That's always nice to see. Commercial awareness, so knowing, you know, what technologies are out there, how things are changing, you know, showing scope to be open-minded and to be able to think out of the box. Obviously work experience, so if you've got any experience of working in IT, even if it's, you know, just for a week or two, it's always great to see that you've actively sought that experience out and have got practical experience. Extracurricular activities, I mean, nothing to do with tech, but, you know, sport or music, it just shows some character. I think that's always nice to see. And for us, you know, because we are a high street store, we have a website as well, but when people have said on their application they've visited a TK Maxx store, or that they, you know, love shopping at TK Maxx, we just really love that. So that's really, really nice to see. And the fact that people have done research in our business and, you know, can say that I would like to work for TK Maxx because of, and then, you know, put some detailed information in terms of why they'd like to work for us, rather than like a cut and paste job that they can do for 5 different applications, which is quite general. Like, I love to see something that's quite unique and shows a passion for working for our business. And then obviously the basics, like no spelling mistakes.
So,
I think
definitely.
Expand on Nimisha's point about doing your research before. I think that's actually really important, and sometimes it's quite obvious when someone hasn't even spent 5 minutes googling that company. Like, some people aren't even aware that we have a website when they apply to us, right? That's the first thing that comes up when you Google the name. So they clearly haven't put the effort into to do it. I'm not expecting every application to like go down to TK Maxx every weekend, right? Because that's fine. But at least know what it is, know where it is, where it's based in the world. Like, this applies for any company, not just TK Maxx. Just spend at least 10 minutes googling.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, when applying to jobs, don't just research the role. You need to really research the company, just so you know what you're applying for, and you actually know, like, if you've got an interview, you actually know about the company. It's not just like a random application that you've fired off. So I think that's really important. Danielle, do you have anything to add?
No, I guess just when looking at graduate recruitment, obviously there's always a high volume of applications, and so the recruitment team are ultimately looking at the degree at this stage of the career. You know, the application, that's the kind of prerequisite that they have this degree. But for me, the profile on your CV is extremely important, because typically you'll read the profile, check the degree, and you might not get much further. And that's across most recruitment teams. So going back to what I said earlier, having that somewhere in your profile that shows that you're actively looking for it. There's sometimes that people apply to our program that say, I'm really interested in working in fashion, for example. So they're straight away not interested in our grad program, and they're obviously doing high volumes of applications. So just detailing in that profile that you have an interest in IT is really important.
Yeah, I really, really agree with all those points. Kind of moving on to the next question, we've briefed upon it slightly. What sort of experience would you expect a candidate to have?
I can go if you want.
Yeah,
so we don't require any experience at all. we offer roles within technology, but because we're a consultancy, soft skills are really important. So if someone has done 2 years of working in retail whilst at university, that's really attractive to us because it shows that you've been working in a customer facing environment, which is just as important as the technology background or the technical ability.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else have anything to add?
I would say that for us, it's okay not to have any work experience. But if you have, it's a bonus. But I suppose if you have anything on your CV that shows like good communication skills, good team working skills, those things are transferable into our business. And I suppose anything that applies to STEM. So, like I said before, if you have, been involved in creating an app or been involved in anything that involves coding, it's always nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. I think interchangeable.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I think for BAE, I think for BAE as well, very similar to what you guys are all saying. We don't necessarily look for experience. If you've got it, it's an absolute bonus. At the end of the day, we're looking to take on graduates that we can mentor, coach, develop, which is all part of that learning part of your career. But yeah, so I mean, if you do have experience, absolute bonus, but it's not a necessity for us at all.
Thank you very much. And what demonstrates passion for a role? So if you were to get an application, what would really stand out to you for a candidate to show they're passionate?
I don't mind going on this one first. We pre-screen all our candidates, obviously, once we've got your applications. And one of the questions that we do ask is, why have you chosen BAE as an employer of choice? Why have you applied to us? And hoping this is where they demonstrate their passion to us. They'll explain, why they want to come and work for us, what's interesting about the company. And again, I think Rachel just mentioned something that you mentioned earlier, doing your background check on the company as well, knowing what we're all about. Yes, BAE Systems is a defence company, but we're not just all about defence. We have our AI side, artificial intelligence. We have our eco footprint, making sure, yes, we're a defence company. We're not just all about dropping bombs on people or firing missiles into the middle of the sea. We're also about our eco footprint as well, and making sure, that we are treating the environment in the way that it should be treated. So again, it's about doing your homework. We have a lot of people that are, or family have connections with the Navy, the Army, a reservist. So we have a lot of people applying to us on that side of things, from that side of businesses as well, which again are following in family footsteps, very passionate about wanting to join us. Their uncle, their uncle, their auntie, their granddad, their nana, their mum, their dad, their sister have all worked for us previously, and they're passionate about wanting to follow in their footsteps as well. So lots of things we hear with regards to candidates, but I think the biggest thing is doing your research on the company, making sure you know who you're.
I think we've lost Nicola there. But yeah, we've got you back now. You just froze for a second.
Sorry, my connection is not the best today, unfortunately. But rainy Manchester, I think needing a waders today.
Sorry, you cut off halfway through then?
Oh, sorry. No, I'll let somebody else go because I think my connection's quite bad. Sorry.
Yeah. Danielle, if I come to you next, what demonstrates passion for you?
Yeah, I guess I echo what Nicola says in terms of researching the company. But that's hard to show on a CV or an application. I think it's at interview stage that you can candidates can demonstrate passion. So one, if they've done their research. The second thing for me is company values. So I would always encourage applicants to review the company's values before, and make sure that they align to your own values, so that when you go through the interview process, you can, you know, demonstrate those behaviours to the people who are interviewing you.
Yeah, definitely, really agree with those points. Thank you. Nimisha or Rachel, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. Oh, do you mind if I? Yeah.
You can go first and I'll go second.
Okay. One thing that always stands out to me, which I think is a good tip, is if you can think about what problems the company might be having, like what matters to the company. For instance, we're a retail company and we're getting stuff from all over the world, right? So perhaps the shipping backlog is a problem to us. And if you show a level of awareness of all these things, or even generally what a retailer might be struggling with, you know, people aren't going to high street, but they're going more to the e-commerce side. If you can say those sort of things, then that's really impressive. I'll shut up now, Nimisha, you can go.
So I always recommend anyone going for like a graduate assessment day to do a SWOT analysis beforehand. It's a very simple thing to do, and it will really help you kind of prepare yourself for any potential questions. So in terms of strengths, for SWOT analysis, the strengths, what are the positives about the business? Where is it going? In terms of strengths, weaknesses, like Rachel just said, what are the weaknesses? What problems have they faced recently? What problems might they face in the future? Threats, are the threats the competition? Are the threats the current economic environment? And then opportunities, we've got our website and we've got other brands behind us and we've got US backing. Like having those questions answered beforehand will always add depth and strength to any of your answers. So I think that would definitely help.
Yeah, 100%. I also feel like if you do that research, say you write down your SWOT chart, when you go into the interview, you're going to feel 10 times more confident because you've done that extra research. And if they ask you a question that you might not know the answer to, what you've done that research, you've got your SWOT chart to hand. So yeah, I think that's a really good point. So thank you very much. So let's talk about softer skills. What are they and why are they important? If you have any examples, feel free to share those as well. Nicola, can I come to you first again?
I think just echoing on, I think what Danielle said earlier with regards to softer skills, we do welcome them. And obviously these can be demonstrated on CVs, when we do go through applications. But I think they tend to come more to fruition once you've actually started in the role, and you'll probably be thinking about scenarios that you've done previously, not necessarily in your work experience, but it could be in a project that you've been doing while you've been at university. If you've led a project, for example, on the techniques within that project that you've been doing, if that helps. It's very hard to give demonstrations, unfortunately, because until you know that individual or what they've actually been doing or what you'll be looking for, customer services, I suppose, is one, but where does customer services start and finish? It could be a simple phone call, it could be face-to-face, it could be, unpaid roles, volunteering. Everybody has skills which are transferable, and I think it's how you adapt those skills into the role that you have applied for. And then I think once you're doing that role, how they actually transpire into that then. So it's not something that we actively look for. It's something that would happen once you've started with us.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's so many transferable skills that you can use. So I think my microphone's going away. So I've got down like problem solving, communications, obviously really important, data analysis, like if you've done that in a previous role. So just some of the ones that I jotted down as well. Does anyone else have anything to add to that talking point?
I was going to add, like in terms of TJX, we have a saying which is relationship before task. And for us, like relationships really are like the glue and the grease in terms of how we work. And it's so important. Sometimes I think it's more important than the actual technical skill, because in our business we work like in teams, we work collaboratively. There's no one that kind of works alone and gets to the finish line. It's all we do things together, and the aim is for all of us to reach the finish line together. So it's really important to see signs of good communication, good team working, good time management, presentation skills, and like Nicola said, customer service skills, and the actual ability to say, I made a mistake and I learned from it and I would do differently, like having a bit of humility and being very honest and showing scope for taking ownership. And even if it is something that's been done wrong, it's fine. Like, just, it's the best thing to do is to own up to it and, not race for the finish line, but get as many people involved as possible so that you'd come to the best outcome rather than the quickest outcome.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really, really lovely point as well. So thank you very much, Nimisha. Danielle, do you have anything to add?
Pretty much like Nimisha said, for us at Explio, having strong soft skills is equally as important as the technical skills. So we actively look for collaborative behaviour, so that forms part of our interview process, and there'll be questions asked during the interview to provide examples of where there's been collaborative partnerships, relationships, presentation skills. Again, we wouldn't expect people coming straight out of university to have that, but to have the willingness to learn and to become better is extremely important. And then just one thing, adaptability in the business that we're in is extremely important. So, for example, you could be working on one project in the morning with a team of 10, and then all of a sudden something urgent comes in and you need to be able to adapt to that and change, and you can't really teach that behavior. You have to, it only comes from practice, I guess. But yeah, I think communication is probably, well, it absolutely is the key, and it's the listening as well as the verbal communication.
Yeah, 100%. Moving to our next question, I think we've kind of covered most of it already, but how might a candidate develop these softer skills? So what sort of experience, personal and professional, would you expect to be mentioned on an application? I do think we've touched on this slightly, but if anyone has anything else to add on that.
I don't mind just,
yeah.
I would say talk about, I'm just trying to remember back from when I was at uni, it wasn't even that long ago, that you did lots of like those group projects, which are the worst. I would talk about those as much as you can, because even though you might have been doing something stupid in a group project at uni, it's very much like real life work. There's always going to be someone difficult that you're going to have to deal with. There's going to be bumps in the road. So if you can talk about that sort of thing a lot and how you overcame those, I'm pretty sure every application will have sort of situational questions like name a time when you faced a problem and how you dealt with it. So I think preparing for those sorts of questions as well is good. Anything where you've worked with other people, really.
Yeah, I would add to that, like if you've mentored anyone at university, like often, people in their final year mentor first or second years. Sometimes they're tutors to people doing GCSEs, or you might have a part-time job, or you might volunteer doing something. And then again, sport or music, just to show something more about you.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel even to say you're at uni, you have like a part-time bar job, I feel like you've gained so many skills from that. So you'll have like teamwork, communication, adaptability. So even using that and putting that on your CV is great, and obviously shows all the soft skills. So I'm just going to move on to another question. Do you have any other advice for graduates about pursuing a career in tech? Danielle?
Do it. I think if you're considering a career in technology, the likelihood is that you're currently studying some form of technology degree. My advice would be to make sure you focus on the area that you enjoy, and try to make that the focus for your job search, and wherever possible try to get a graduate scheme that allows you rotations so that you get to move around the business and experience different parts of the organisation. Yeah, that would be my advice.
Yeah, I would say be persistent, because the market is competitive, but then be patient as well, because application processes can be long and can often take weeks and weeks to get from, application form through to assessment day. Think outside of the obvious technical companies. So, TK Maxx, TJX, we're not an IT company, but we have an amazing global IT function, which you'd get so much exposure to different technologies. It's just, think about other companies that aren't necessarily a pure IT company, and show passion for tech.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Can I just add one other thing as well? Just, it's okay if you don't know what you're doing with your life. Because I remember at 21, I was very scared and thought I had to. The thing I was going to pick was what I was going to do for the rest of my life, right? But you don't have to do that. So I picked this thing because I was like, oh, I vaguely know a bit about IT. I like it, and it's very flexible. So I started out doing one thing, and now I'm doing something 5 years later completely different, and that's okay. So on our grad scheme, you try a bit of everything, different technologies and things, and you might learn that actually something you thought you liked, you hate, and something else you love, and that's fine. Don't panic.
Do you have any more advice, or could you share some experience on your grad scheme at TJX?
Advice on general life, or
Yeah, just your experience on it.
So TK Maxx specifically, it's like I said, it's been very flexible. We've had some people join on the tech scheme who thought, actually, I can code, but I don't want to do it, and now they do something that I do, which is more user facing and working with the dev guys. Some people have gone, actually, I don't like IT at all, and they've gone to HR or merchandising. That's completely fine. I feel like I'm giving out life advice now. Like Nimisha said, I remember feeling really depressed when I was applying for grad roles and had this enormous pressure of, I need to get a job before I graduate, otherwise my life will be over. That's not true. That's rubbish. You're going to look back at that and laugh at yourself, because you will get somewhere. Some people have joined us and it's not what they wanted to do. They've gone somewhere else. So like Nimisha said, you won't generally be sat with a laptop by yourself somewhere coding all day. That's not really how we work. But some people want to do that, and that's completely fine, right? And some companies will do that. So try and work out where you would fit best, I think, and what you want to get from it. More advice.
Yeah, thank you. Great advice. Really good insight as well.
TK Maxx.
Yeah. Thanks, Rachel. Nicola, do you have any advice for graduates pursuing a career in tech?
I think echoing what everybody says, unfortunately. Now, I'm going to shock you. I'm not a graduate. I went to the hard school of knocks, so I've learned the hard way. I'm 48 next week on my birthday. And I think from my life experiences, just go for it. There are so many opportunities out there. Yes, the industries are very competitive, but just, you might think you want to work in defence, you want to work in retail, you want to work in finance, you want to work in distribution. But why do you want to work in those industries? Tech job is a tech job, and I don't think it matters what industry you think you might be focusing on. The backbone and the basics are there, and it's just how you apply yourself and develop yourself. And if you're in an area that you think, well, actually, I thought I liked it, but I don't like it, get yourself onto a grad scheme where you can move around departments, experience different scenarios, different ways of working, but just do it. Don't think about it. Be persistent, be patient, and just keep applying. Your patience will pay off.
Lovely, some really good advice there. Thank you. Those questions open to everyone. Are there any online courses that you know of and that you would recommend? I'm not sure if anyone knows.
Not that I'm aware of off the top of my head, unfortunately. You know,
I know there are, I think
obviously-
YouTube has like coding courses. So if anyone doesn't have any experience and wants to, I believe YouTube has some which are worth looking into.
I think it's Harvard Uni does like a module. It's like CS50, I think it's called, which you can do for free. I know a couple of people have done that, and it takes you through like super basic coding. So if you do have spare time, that might be good to pop on the CV. And
Yeah.
it's free, and I think you can do it in your own time.
I know there'd be boot camps as well, but I wouldn't be able to give you the names.
Yeah, there are boot camps. I think they cost money. I think they're like full-time things. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move on to the student Q&A now. So if you've got a question that you want to ask panelists and you haven't asked it yet, just pop it in the question tab. So our first question, I'll just put that live there. Do you think it is essential to have a portfolio for a coding position?
No. I think, sorry, so as part of our assessment, we have a test, a coding test. And as long as you pass that with whatever score I think is our minimal, and then you can sort of explain it in the interview. You don't need to come along with any sort of, I've made this bit of software, I've made this. It's good to talk about, but it's not essential.
Yep, definitely. Thank you very much. On to the next one. How can I start building my CV as a first year undergraduate? I know we mentioned this previously, like your profile and stuff, but does anyone want to talk about this again?
I would just start by using one of the free templates that you can find online, and just making sure that your profile piece is really key. So making sure you've got that right, and making sure that you follow the right format that you should. So if you're having your education, and making sure that date start as the most present date rather than the other way around. Include voluntary work, include work experience, include internships, anything that you think is your one opportunity to sell yourself on one piece of paper. And my best advice is to do that in the profile, because sometimes people don't get much further than that. Unfortunately, that would be my advice on that one.
I'd also add, like, whilst you're at university, get involved in any society work, which would involve STEM or computer science or coding or hackathons, because that will, like, open you up to different opportunities and different experiences.
Or even just, like, I think I was social sec of some society, which obviously has nothing to do with technology, but I spoke about that in my interview, that I was managing a budget, I was organizing things like events, increasing the number of people to sign up to the society. You can come up with any sort of stuff to say about anything, really.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about those transferable skills. Move on to the next one. I'm not sure who or what company this is aimed at, but is the coding task based on algorithms?
I don't think ours is.
Ours isn't.
Yeah,
No.
I think ours is just like you pick a language out of I think it's 5 or 6 to choose from, and then it gives you a task, like write a piece of code that counts up to 10 or something. I've just made that up, but it's something like that.
Thank you. Just looking through the questions. What is a consensus on psychometric testing for tech roles? Do you know if anyone wants to answer that one?
So we use psychometric testing. We use the logical and numerical, and there is, a minimum pass level for you to get through to the next stage, which would be video interview.
I don't actually use that as part of my graduate recruitment process. I've used it previously in other types of recruitment, but I don't think the scoring's valued as much as the actual interview scores and the technical assessments.
Thank you very much. Move on to our next question. Again, Danielle, I think you did cover this one. What makes a recruiter who first sees the CVs of applicants choose the ones who will get you to step up to the interview stage? I think you mentioned it's all about like the profile. That's what the recruiter will see first and what will make you stand out. Just looking through the list. There's so many questions to look through. Okay. I'm currently doing an MSc in computer science. Can I apply for an internship without work experience?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, for us as well.
We don't do internships though, FYI, but we do placements, so like sandwich year programs or a grad scheme.
I think each company calls them something different, don't we? So we do what we call a summer internship, which is 12 weeks over the summer. We also do an industrial placement or an undergraduate placement, which is a sandwich year, which is 12 months in industry, and then obviously the graduate scheme as well.
Thank you very much. Do TK Maxx or TJX offer tier 2 IT job opportunities, or can we be advised how to get hold of companies that offer tier 2 job opportunities?
What's a tier 2? Is that an apprentice thing?
It's their visa application.
Oh.
So tier 2 means that they can work in holidays. They can work in term time only, outside of term time only, in holidays. But for a graduate scheme, would you sponsor the tier 2, which would turn into what now being called a work visa?
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a policy for that at the moment.
Yeah, we don't either. We do have a visa opportunity, but it tends to be used for skilled workers as opposed to graduates entering the business.
So within BAE, if you were successful within the role and you needed a visa, then we would sponsor that.
Thank you very much. I've kind of gone through most of the student questions. So if you do have any, pop them there and I'll come back to them. But could you guys tell me what roles do you have open at the moment? Nicola, if I come to you first, what roles are open with BAE that the students can...
Oh, you never asked me to get that ready. I've got a whole list for you.
Sorry, it's a bit of an unexpected last minute question there.
So yes, within our maritime division, based in Portsmouth, so it's our Portsmouth Naval Base and surrounding area, Broad Oak, we're currently looking for, bear with me literally 2 seconds, I can just pull that up for you. We're looking for project managers. Now, all these vacancies are on our website at the moment at baesystems.com, so please do feel free to go and have a look. We're looking for, I do have a cyber security role based out of Broad Oak, which is a 12-month placement, so an undergraduate placement, sandwich year or industrial placement, however you refer to it, within cyber security. I am looking for software engineers as well at Portsmouth Naval Base, which are graduate positions. Yep. So I've got those, project management, systems engineer. I also have a project controller's role. I've got a data management and a data science analysis graduate role at Portsmouth Naval Base that we're looking to fill. And a digital services engineer as well, which is a 12-month placement at Portsmouth Naval Base. I'm also looking for a technical information engineer, and that's to start in June. So if I do have any graduates that are starting early on that one now, within BAE Systems, we do tend to have some restrictions on roles. So the restrictions would be that role specifically is for UK eyes only, which means you need to be a UK national, unfortunately, because of the projects that you will be working on. We couldn't open it up to any foreign nationals, I'm afraid, but it does state that on the application form there. So yeah, we've got loads of roles, and there's a HR officer role up in Glasgow, if anybody's looking for HR. I know that's totally off technical talk there, but just in case.
Lovely, thank you very much. So yeah, so head over to the BAE Systems website or the BAE Systems profile on Target Jobs to read more about those roles. Danielle, have you got any roles with Explio at the moment?
We have. So we're likely to hire 100 graduates across the business this year. We've just had 10 start actually on Monday, so our first intake of this year. So we have offices all over the UK, and we have 3 main types of graduate programs. So one is technology consulting, and that covers quite similar to Nicola in terms of, you know, someone that's looking for a software engineering kind of consulting role, and it covers software testing, business analysis, agile, and software engineering. And then we have a maritime graduate program, so ideally someone that's got a specific maritime degree, and then we have more traditional engineering, so which obviously isn't technology, but there is the engineering degree, and then last but not least, software and systems. And yeah, we have offices in Preston, Derby, Bristol, London. We're about to open an office in Manchester and one in Edinburgh. So hopefully that covers the majority of the footprint in the UK. And yeah, we run in regular graduate assessment days and regular intakes, and it's just literally rolling all throughout the year.
Amazing, thank you. And Nimisha or Rachel, have you got any roles open with TJX?
So currently we have 1 role signed off, which I've posted the advert for in the chat. We're currently looking for 12 placements for our technical program. It's an 11-month program starting in September. And then hopefully next week we will have sign off for our graduate programs. It's kind of work in progress and on the verge of being approved. And that's when we'll be looking for technical and non-technical people to join our IT function. It is a global program. So last year, for example, we recruited over 100 grads, and most of them were based in the US, but there were also some in Canada and then some based in our head office in Watford.
Lovely, thank you. And yeah, to see more about these jobs, head over to the website or the profiles on the Target Jobs. I think I'm going to start bringing the webinar to a close. Does anyone have anything else they want to say? Any last words or pieces of advice for the students? Also, if you wanted to just contact you via LinkedIn, are you happy for them to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got something I'd just like to add. Within BAE Systems, if you do reach interview stage, or for any company really, we use what's called the STAR technique, which is where we ask you on competency and behavioural based questions to use the STAR technique, which is when you're asked the question and to give your answer, just start thinking about the STAR technique. And the STAR technique is the situation, the task, the action, and the result. So if you are asked, I'm just trying to think of an example question on the spot, and I can't. But Google has lots of examples on there. So please refer to Google for competence-based and behavioural type questions, and start to try and prepare your answers using, you know, examples that you'll have done through projects at university, by telling the story, which is the situation, talking about the task, you know, what actions did you take, what was your outcome of that, how did it make you feel, what was the result at the end of it. All this will help within your interview and help you demonstrate active workings that you've been doing that sometimes you don't necessarily get through on your CV or in your profile, and you can talk about them a lot more in depth as well.
Thank you very much. So before I end the webinar, just want to mention our IT networking event. So Target Jobs has an IT event called It's Not Just for the Boys. So you can meet with some of the best tech employees in the UK. You can boost your skills in interactive workshops and panel sessions and meet the leading women in tech who will be sharing their application tips. So if this is of interest of you, just scan the QR code and it'll take you to where you can register. Yes, I'm going to bring the webinar to a close. So I just want to say thank you very much to the panelists. It's been a really insightful session today. And thank you to everyone at home for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.